Hold a moment, apprentice. Let me feel ahead.
The Mage's Tale is a virtual reality video game where you are an apprentice to a great wizard, and you are on a journey with an angry, abusive smurf. The game begins with you, the wizard, and the smurf walking through some catacombs or something when the ground gives out below you. Like, right after the wizard was talking about how that could happen. Except it happened because you were attacked, and not because the wood was old like the wizard said, so big twist. This is where you also learn that the smurf is a jerk, because he basically indicates that he would like you to fall to your death.
Oh yes, wouldn't that be terrible? The apple of the master's eye, lost forever in a bottomless pit. So sad.
So, at this point, the other wizard who has turned to the dark side starts throwing down with your master in a wicked air battle and beats him because even though good always wins in the end, evil always wins first. He either has horns or a blind and mostly paralyzed barber. Either way, you know he's evil because why else would he leave the house like that? Your master falls and lands beside you, then Horny McBadhair comes and lands on top of him, but not in that way. And then looks sort of at you, but also sort of beside you, and it's awkward because you don't know where to look, and tells you to tell your master's friends that he's coming for them, and then promptly heads off to kidnap them. Obviously this guy has never read a book, watched a movie, or played a video game, because if he had, he would know that he should have taken out the apprentice. When does the quote-unquote master ever do anything besides die or get kidnapped? Never, that's who. It's always the apprentice. Anyway, the smurf gets mad and starts throwing shade, calling you names, and then does the only useful thing he does throughout the game, which is to open a portal for you so you can not die in a fire. But he screws up and lands off course. And then he's like, whoops, my bad, oh well, later. Then he vanishes and you're like, damn it, start on foot patrol. He comes back a bit later though to mock you about how few spells you have learned as a worthless apprentice, and also to teach you how to use them. And that is the tone for the whole game really. He's just a jealous bastard, and you should ignore him. Don't let him get you down. You'd be mad too if you were short blue and had a big nose. He kind of keeps popping up and bothering you throughout the first mission. Teaching, I'm using air quotes here, you how to do stuff and explaining the giant sucking frog that appears behind you. He's there to gorf your magical items, like the ones you collect in the dungeon, and then takes them back to your workshop. Once or twice, the smurf teleports you back to the workshop without your consent so that you can make the spells that you need to beat the level. It's kind of annoying, but that's just his personality and there's not much you can do about it. Once the game really gets going, Grumpy Smurf only appears to give you hints to puzzles that you've already figured out usually. But he's not like, this is how you beat the puzzle. Instead, he tries to be witty, saying things like, can't you get through here? You're really burning me up. He doesn't slap his knee before vanishing though, which I feel is a real missed opportunity. The Mage's Tale feels not unlike a Zelda game if you removed everything from the Zelda game except the dungeons, and made it first person, and VR, and magic based rather than sword based. You can get a sword in the Mage's Tale at various points throughout the game, but they aren't much good for anything other than dropping them from high places and watching them fall and getting a little bit of that sweet, sweet vertigo. But basically, you're in dungeons trying to solve puzzles for the whole game, except for when you're making spells. And when you have to fight enemies, you're trapped in a room with them until you beat them. So, as you can see, it's a lot like Zelda, except for the spots where it's not. And Zelda is good, therefore, ipso facto, the Mage's Tale is good. I probably should have been a lawyer, making cases like that. Making spells in the Mage's Tale is easy and a lot of fun. You find the spell components lying around in the dungeons, and the Gorfing Frog takes them back to the workshop and sets them on a lazy Susan for you, so they're there and ready when you want to make a spell. You have to begin each spell with the base ingredient, which is fire, ice, wind, or lightning, which, according to Avatar: The Last Airbender, is actually a type of fire. Maybe this redundancy can be cleared up with a future update. Once you have your base in, you simply add your buffer potions. No need to uncork them and pour them in, just toss them in the pot, jar and all, and let magic do the rest. If you screw up, the skeleton at the end of your wizard stirring stick will belch and your cauldron will barf out everything you put in it and you have to start again. Once you have the spell you want, you stir the pot and the spell gem thing comes out and you put it in your spell selection wheel where it probably sit mostly unused unless it's a lightning spell, aka fire number 2 spell. Not everything about the Mage's Tale is perfect. A lot of games wind up getting a patch after release adding in full locomotion, and it's this reviewer's opinion that this should be an indication developers should just put it in at the start. That's what she... Actually, never mind. The Mage's Tail already has a sort of full locomotion in that you can go pretty much anywhere at roughly walking speed, but it uses a quote-unquote grid-based movement system that is really just tiny teleports. It feels a bit like blacking out for a fraction of a second every time you take a step, which I guess is preferable to coughing sausage all over your headset, if you're prone to that sort of thing. But I'm not, and I want to move like I do in real life, by holding down an analog stick on a controller and floating weightlessly at pretty high speeds. There are also a few glitches in the game that happen from time to time. For example, I have on occasion found myself about waist deep in a staircase, though this never happened before Nathan mentioned it on the Horde last week, so I may have to set him on fire just in case he's some sort of witch. There was also one time when I loaded my save file that had 8+ hours into the game and it started me at the beginning. This gave me a heart attack. I didn't have a defibrillator on hand though, so I just licked a wall socket and got my heart going again, then restarted and found that it was all a big misunderstandings and things worked as they ought. The heart attack got me thinking about the fragility of life and some changes I need to make. For example, since I could die tomorrow, I should eat more pizza. Epiphanies like this are not something I expect from video games, and so that's 5 to 10 extra bonus points right there. This is the longest game I've played since the last time I played a longer game. And I don't know when that was, because if I'm not reviewing a game, it's unlikely that I'll finish it, because I haven't yet completed my work on the day lengthening-inator, so I just don't have the time. But it's listed at 10 hours long, and if you take your time and enjoy the game, that will be a bit conservative. If you're the sort of gamer who doesn't have time for this crap and just wants to get the damn thing done so you can get on to doing the dishes, you may be able to come in under that. The really cool thing is that, even though it's long, I'm not even tired of it. I want more, actually. There is a small subset of the gaming community to whom graphics are important in a game. If you're one of those weirdos, you'll be happy to know that this game has graphics. They're literally everywhere. Can't turn a corner without running into more graphics. What's more, they look like what they're supposed to look like. Maybe there's supposed to be a stone over there, and behold, graphics that look like stones. It's really something. In fact, I would say that the graphics in this game are so pivotal, so important, that without them, you'd hardly have a game at all. You could put on one of those sleeping masks and have your drunk uncle berate you about your poor magical abilities and have the same thing. I presume that everyone has a drunk uncle who berates them about poor magical abilities. If that's not you, then you'll have to use your imagination. I've never actually been a wizard on an adventure through various dungeon layers of other wizards, so it's hard for me to say if the in-game audio is a good representation of what that would be, but I think that it passes muster. Fire crackles, wind whooshes, trolls yell, "I smell ya, sausage!" I suspect that this is all the sort of thing that would happen in real life, and it really helps you feel like you're right there, inside your VR helmet, playing a video game. If it's not there for you, first make sure that you have your headphones on, then turn up the volume. If neither of those situations work, you may be deaf, in which case you are depending on Google to provide subtitles for this video, and it probably doesn't make a lot of sense. Thanks for sticking with it anyway. I think I've talked about this game long enough. If you're one of the 12 people who haven't purchased it yet, you should consider purchasing it. It's one of the best, most proper game-like games I've played in VR. It's not very often anymore that when I'm not playing a game, I'm thinking about when I'll get to play it next, and that has happened with this game. It's not all the time or anything, I don't need an intervention, but there have been occasions where I've been sitting outside enjoying the sunshine, listening to the birds, drinking a lemonade, and I've thought to myself, this world sucks, I can't even pick up things without actually grabbing them with my hands like a chump. I'm going to play the Mage's Tail. The Mage's Tail scores 4.5 out of 5 sausages. Go play it.